So being Christian means easier life, right? Not necessarily. So let's talk about it. Life can sometimes be a roller coaster, and we get it.
So tune into The Walk, where we'll explore the modern-day Christian journey by addressing challenging questions and trending topics faced by young adults today. No topic is off limits.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Walk. We are so excited to be here. It's our first preview type of episode, we're going to call it, and it's been a long time coming. It's been, I think, since 2020 when we had the last walk. It was like the beginning of COVID. We were on, I think, Skype together, everybody in their own houses and stuff. But we are back in person next to each other, and we have like a new version of the show to present. So welcome to the new Walk Live, all right? So my name is Shane. Some of you may not know me, some of you may know me, but welcome to our show.
I'm Andre.
And I'm CJ.
Yes. So we have a good one for you all today. We're going to just think of this as like a preview to the show. So usually the walk is on Fridays, and it will be returning to Fridays. But today, as we're really just making sure everything's tight and as a preview to what you can expect, we thought, why not do a show today to kind of give the audience an opportunity to see what this show is about, all right? So do us a favor. How we get supported for things like this is by making sure that you like, subscribe. So right now we are on our home church's page, so make sure you like and subscribe to them. And soon we're gonna have our own The Walk channel to also like and subscribe to. But then also share this. We're gonna have a topic that we talk about today that I don't think you guys are gonna wanna miss. But at the start of the show, what we wanna do today is we wanna shout out some key people that have made today possible, all right? So let's start off by our set designers and installers. Like, do you guys see this set? Like,
that set is nice.
Like, this is nice.
Yeah, this is nice.
So, Melinda, Maddie, Yasmin, Rodney, Dale, we appreciate you all.
It looks really good.
It looks really cool.
Good.
Oh, actually, Lee, hit me one time with the iPhone cam. I could actually show some of them. Can you do you hit me? All right, so there's Melinda right there.
Yeah.
There's the Maddie. All
the
right.
Maddie.
Yeah, so thank you so much for creating this wonderful design. It was really nice. Renovations by Rodney. He's known as R-Dan, the Fix-It Man. So Rodney, Mike, and Victor transforming this room into what it is. And if you ever come to Mount Zion Seventh-day Adventist Church, you have to swing by this room and see what it's like. You're gonna thank some people.
Yeah, I gotta thank our tech team. Our tech team has helped us a lot with a lot of the technical aspects going live. We have a lot of new equipment, lights, cameras. We've got a sound system over here, switchboard, all that stuff. So we definitely want to shout out some key tech people. We can actually
Let's
point
switch
them
to
out
the
here.
cam.
Switch to the cam again.
Yeah. All right, so we have Jay over here. Yeah. Oh, up a little bit. Yeah, I can't see what I'm doing. All right, we have Dasan. Yeah, and we have Lee the man. Yeah. And Tashina's doing some work back here. You can't hide. All right.
All right. Also, our social people. Shane, you want to tell them about that?
So you're going to start to see some new designs and everything on our social platforms, commercials, just getting the word out. And so Melinda, Alegna, and Tashina has been helping us with that, getting on podcasts, sites. And yes, that is new for this time. We're going to be not only on Facebook and YouTube, but we're going podcasts. So Spotify, Apple, and what's the third one? Anchor, just Anchor in general. So we're going to really try to spread this ministry so that everybody can benefit from what we talk about.
Yeah. We also want to thank our videographer, Brian. He's done a lot of the video aspects of it. If you guys like the intro that you just saw, that was a lot. Brian, he's done a phenomenal job with editing and all that stuff. So we want to give a big shout out to him as well.
And you know, I see the comments, and Vera says, "Awesome paint job." So we gotta say thanks to Larry Louie Painting and Pressure Washing Services. If you need a job done, he's the guy to go to. And we did talk about the set, but I have to shout out Melinda has a business with
Melinda's
decor.
Canopy.
So like, if you have an event, you want balloon setups or just decor, like Melinda's the girl to
Yeah.
talk to.
Definitely.
We also have to thank our AY team in general.
Yeah.
This did not just come together. We did a lot of planning to get this. A lot of creative ideas from our team members. We have a lot of creative people there, so like we were really blessed by their input, and it really helped putting everything together.
Yeah, definitely. But not every place has a supportive church, so we have to give a shout out to our church. This is a church that really does support its youth and young adults, and so we needed a new place. And even when we tried to limit ourselves in some aspects, you know, our church even said like that wasn't enough. And so we have this new space that we were able to renovate, and so we just want to say thank you to Mount Zion for always like supporting your youth and young adults. We know many churches don't do that for their youth and young adults, so thank you for trusting us with our endeavors. But those are the things we have. We're now about to go into a Q&A session, so you can kind of learn about the show, what you can expect this go around, and then you can put some questions in the chat as well. We're paying attention to the YouTube and Facebook chat, so if you have anything that you want to discuss in the Q&A section, we are more than happy to. So the first thing, why did you guys decide to bring back the walk? So I would say one of the most popular things that we had as a youth group before COVID was the walk.
Yeah.
So Reset was a huge hit, of course, and we did things like the Lit Gala, that was a huge hit, but the walk was one of those things that on Friday nights people just look forward to. And if we I can't say accidentally, but if we skipped a Friday that it was supposed to be on,
People notice.
we heard about it. And so during its height, you know, it would grow up to like 60s in viewership, which was like really cool for like a small ministry like that. So
We had a lot of interesting conversations on there.
Oh, yeah,
a
yeah,
lot
yeah,
of
yeah.
topics that we discussed. Like we had a lot of feedback from the audience.
Definitely.
And, stuff, and a lot of great points were made. I think one of our most popular ones was definitely the relationship one, though.
Oh, yeah.
People had some
Definitely,
very
yeah,
interesting takes on that one. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, no, definitely. So there's always been good conversation on the walk, and so it was a no-brainer that when we brought back together the youth ministry, that the walk had to be one of those things that we brought back first. So speaking about that, one of the questions that came across is what kind of topics will we be discussing? So Andre, what are we going to be talking about?
So kind of some of the similar topics from before, like we're definitely going to have some relationship topics since that was such a hit. We want to dive a little bit deeper though and talk about some issues that you don't necessarily hear from a Christian perspective. So we want to talk about sex. We want to talk about mental health. We want to talk about pornography. We want to talk about religion just in general. You know,
Right.
Is religion okay? Like, should there be a doing away of religion? All these things we want to break down and discuss.
No, and that really makes sense. And so one thing that I feel like I've learned in my Christian journey is that if I have a question, it's not just me. Like a lot of people have the same questions. It's just that people don't feel comfortable about talking about it or feel like they're safe places to do that. And we want the walk to be that place where it is safe. So ultimately, the goal is to grow together. And you can't grow if you're not having conversation.
Right.
So what's going to be different now than before? So as you can see, we've stepped up our game. So the professionalism standpoint is, you know, our hope. We started basically on time too, so that's another thing. Some people are keeping me more accountable than I thought I would have. So like, you know, I was hearing a countdown from a while ago and they're like, no, we got to start. I was like, okay, cool. So we want to be on time as much as possible. You see the set. I can legit say we spared no expense. So usually like we're like counting pennies and like everything that was wanted or needed we kind of spent because we wanted to invest into this show and to really make it like something that's going to be of good quality and can compete with, you know, other shows that you might listen to and watch. So that's one thing, but then also consistency. So currently we are committing to which Fridays of every month?
Every third Friday, we're gonna try to do that. Every third Friday, so you guys get a monthly walk.
A monthly walk, a monthly walk. And as you potentially enjoy the walk more and more, we'll see if we can add bonus episodes. Like the first Friday of February is going to be a bonus episode of the walk. So whenever that's happening, we'll be sure to let you know. But right now, we're committing to the third Friday of every month. What makes this show different than any other podcast? I mean, like, do you see who's on the show? Like, come on,
it's us. Like, come on, yo.
Come on,
It's
you gotta
us.
support your own.
Exactly.
That's number one. But real talk, like,
I mean,
yeah, go ahead.
I mean, honestly, like, I don't know any churches around this area that does the same thing that we do, as far as Mount Zion Youth, like, really being the forerunners of stepping out and doing things like this. Like talking about these heavy topics, like. A lot of the topics are very taboo, and a lot of churches don't discuss them or talk about them. So I feel like that kind of separates us from everyone else in this area, right, in Central Florida. Yeah. So that's one thing I would say.
No, definitely. And I would say even more specific to maybe the Seventh-day Adventist circle.
Yeah, definitely.
We definitely want to make sure that we are talking about things that matter. And I think you probably won't find many SDA shows out there. So, you might listen to Christian podcasts or Christian shows, and most of it, you might be like, okay, that aligns with what I believe. But then there might be certain things where you're like, oh, as a Seventh-day Adventist, like there's a little bit of conflict. So we hope that this show can kind of fill that space for people.
Now, we don't want to exclude anybody that is
Right,
Adventist, but
Yeah.
for those that are, and you're like wondering certain things, like Shane said, like that might not line up, we want to have that experience for you here where like things should line up for you as well.
Right.
Definitely.
Are there any limits to what we can talk about? Question makes me nervous because I'm like, okay, what am I not thinking about? That could be a limit.
Shane, our intro, no
No
topic,
topic.
is off limits. So, I think
we
that
edit? Is it too late?
No, I think it's out there. We're live. It's gone.
It literally says
gone.
no topic.
In emphasis.
It's too late now.
No topic
It's
is
out
off
there.
limits.
We can't turn back.
So, I guess not. So maybe there will be something. But honestly, this is the place that we want to talk about these things. So bring it on. You're going to have an opportunity to ask us questions and to give your comments as well. We're going to tell you about that a little bit later in the show. So lastly, like, what's our target audience?
So basically, anybody can watch the show. Youth, young adult, old, young. We definitely want to target our youth and young adults. So a lot of the topics we'll try to focus on things that we struggle with or that the youth face in their everyday lives. But definitely anybody can watch and enjoy and get something from the show.
Cool. Yeah, I think you guys are in for a treat. So make sure that you stay tuned on The Walk. Again, we're every third Friday, but we're going to have a bonus episode beginning on Friday, February 3rd. So you want to make sure that you are back for that. But we're not done yet. We're about to transition to introducing what are some of the segments that you can expect on The Walk. So we're excited about some of these. Andre is going to introduce the first segment.
So our first segment, it's gonna be called "Won't He Do It?" And basically, this is kind of like a remix on Testimony Time. If you're a true Adventist, you know about Testimony Time. But this is gonna be a segment where basically we're talking about like if God has done something for me, like He can do it for you. I think a lot of times in our Christian walk, we, like Shane said, like we all have similar questions and stuff, but because it's not talked about, everyone has the same question. And it's similar when it comes to our experiences or like the things we go through. Other people are going through the same thing. If they see that like, oh, you went through that and like you got through it, then God can definitely get me through that as well. So we want to like open this space where we can have a platform to show like what God has done.
Right.
Like if He did it for me, like I'm not special. Like He can do it for you too. You just gotta ask Him. You know.
Won't He do it?
Won't He do it?
Won't He do it? So the next segment that we have is Word on the Streets. So this is going to be our hot topic segment. So if there's something happening in life or in the world that's really just a point of discussion, we're going to talk about it for a couple minutes on the show, give our perspective, and just discuss it in the realm of maybe Christianity and life. So there's going to be a special segment, Hot Topics Word on the Street. So you're going to definitely want to stay tuned for that. And when we give you that link to kind of submit questions and comments, if you have a hot topic that you would like to submit, there's definitely space to do that. And then talk to the walk. That transitions into what I was talking about. So if you want to take note, just in case you already have questions or comments that you want to give, you can go to Linktree, which is going to be linktr.ee/MZYouth. So I'm going to say it one more time, linktr.ee/MZYouth. And so I'm going to ask actually Tashina, can you do me a favor? Can you put that in a comment so people can see it, that Linktree link, so that if you have questions, concerns, comments, anything that you want to discuss on the show, the best part is it's anonymous. So you don't have to attach your name. So if you have a question about church, about life, you're going through something, and you really don't feel comfortable with talking to friends or family about it, and you just want another perspective, this is a way to do it. So again, it's anonymous. It is on our Linktree. Our Linktree is on our Instagram page, so you can get it that way, but you can submit topics that way, and it's called Talk to the Walk. It's gonna be very interesting.
Yeah. I'm excited to hear what people have to say.
Yeah.
We also want to hear from you guys when it comes to topics that you guys want discussed. Even if you have ideas like other segments, like, oh, it'd be cool if you guys had this segment. We want to hear from you guys because the show is for you. So definitely use that platform. You can even put in the comments below if you want. But we just want to hear you guys' feedback, your thoughts.
No, definitely. And so I see we're growing in viewership. So do me a favor. Can we even hit 30 viewers today? Like, we're at 23 right now. Can you share this to some people? Like, we could do that, and we can go above that. So don't keep this to yourself. Let's share it. Let's get people excited and ready, because we're about to go into a topic, and we're not starting off slow and being like, okay, we're going to work our way up to a good topic. Right. No, we're going to do a little preview topic to just show you what you can expect from the show. So here it is. When it comes to this Christian walk, what is something you'd say that people struggle with most? So when it comes to this Christian walk, what is something you think that, or you'd say that people struggle with most? So as we did before, we want you to let us know in the comments, like, what are some of the things that you think Christians struggle with most? And it might be, your own, or it could be just in general what you've heard of, the judgment-free zone here. So think about, when it comes to the Christian walk, what is something you'd say that people struggle with most? Andre, let's go.
I'll give you mine first. Now, I have two things that really came to mind first when this question was brought up, and I will say that both of these are something that, like, personally, I struggle with too, right? So the first one is transparency. I feel like Christians, we tend to be the opposite of transparent. We try to portray an image, right? Exactly. And anything outside that image, we try to not let anyone see. And so it gives this false belief that, like, oh, Christians have this fairy tale perfect life, that, nothing gets to them, that they don't have any struggles. And, like, that couldn't be further from the truth. I feel like as a Christian, you tend to, like, if you believe in that there's a devil out there, the devil's definitely going to attack you more if you're a Christian. So, like, you're going to be going through more things. But if you act like you're not, then how can you be relatable to other people? How can people open up to you or, like, talk to you if you just don't seem like a real person, So I think Christians definitely struggle with that. And it's funny because this is something that I feel like God has been showing me more and more when it comes to people, like, being liberated from stuff. And it comes through, like, someone opening up about an issue that they've been going through. Like, I've seen, like, pastors talk about, like, their struggles with, like, pornography and stuff like that. And, like, them saying these things has liberated other people, because they're like, wow, I didn't think a pastor could struggle with the same thing I'm struggling with, right? And when they do this, then, like, people actually see, like, wow, we're actually on the same level playing field. And, like, just like that segment, if God did it for you, he can do it for me, right? So that's something I think Christians struggle with. Like, we don't want to be judged. We want to appear perfect, so we don't, act transparent. The other thing that came to mind was practicality. So we have, as Christians, a lot of these biblical principles, a lot of these things that we know we can do, like we can just pray, give it to God, all these things that, it sounds great, but, like, what's the actual practical use of it? And I've seen this, like, turn people away from, like, having a relationship with God or being a Christian when they'll they'll have a struggle or they say they're going through something, and then someone will be like, "Oh, just pray about it." It's like, well, what does that mean? Like,
Right.
what's that gonna do for me? Like, I'm going through something right now.
Right,
Just pray
exactly.
about it. Like, you're not gonna pray with me. Just like, oh,
Right,
you
right,
praying
right,
about it? Like,
right.
no, I think as Christians we need to like talk about like what are the actual practical things that we do. Like, what are the tangible things
That you
that
can
can
do.
right that can help people in their struggles that we personally do ourselves.
Right.
So those are the two things that came up to me: transparency and practicality.
Right.
Those are nice.
And with the first one you were saying, like, especially with, man, I don't know if I was watching or reading something, but it's definitely that mindset of like, you know, just with Jesus, like, please cast the first stone. Like, you without
Exactly.
struggles and going through
Exactly.
things,
Exactly.
please throw one.
Yeah.
Because everybody is going through or has been through something. And so that's something, you know, just definitely transparency and practicality can be useful. I see some comments coming in. Danielle says consistency. Yeah, and it is hard. So
hard.
as our AY team, we decided to do, and it was Danielle's suggestion, to do like a Bible plan, and it was 17 days. And let me tell you, what they say about habits and forming new habits
Right.
has to be true, because like you can start off strong and be like, okay, yeah, let's do this, you know, day 1, okay, day 2, check it, yeah, day 3, check, and then like when you're getting to day 7 and 8, like, man, and then you miss it, and then like, oh man, I missed 3 days,
Exactly.
and then I
It's
missed,
like,
like,
yeah, well,
it's really hard.
It
It
happens
really
so
is
fast.
hard. Yeah, it happens fast.
Like
Like,
one day and all of a sudden it's like, oh, I'm 3 days behind. Just
right.
like that. Boom.
And then there's always a magic number that's just like you give up hope. You're like, I'm 10 days behind. Like,
Like,
you
I'm
know,
done.
like, you know, I'll try the next plan, you
Right.
know? Yeah, so I definitely agree with the consistency part. Sister Brenda Hunt says acceptance. And actually, we're going to keep that because that's going to be something that CJ talks about. Larry talks about real faith and trust in God. I would say that's for sure. And what's unfortunate about that is you have to go through something a lot of times
Yep.
for faith and trust in God. And so ultimately, I think the part that's kind of like has to be our reminder is how he's brought us through before. Like somehow, if you're good at writing things and you need a journal, when you're start journaling so that when you're going through some stuff, you remember like, you know what? This journal is my place of encouragement, and I'm gonna go back to see like how God has brought me through something where I thought was impossible. So if you think back to, you know, your school life, your relationship life, family life, whatever it is, like having a point of reference is something that helps with your faith and like constantly trusting in God. Kiara says, I've noticed more temptation, confusion when it comes to mixing Christianity with some spiritual practices that don't align with the word. For example, it's trendy to burn sage and collect crystals.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's
Are we
heavy.
still sure no topics off limits?
That's a good one.
Wow.
And yo, that's actually pretty good.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you do practices like that, you're inviting things instead of trying to keep them out. You know, so those are very dangerous lines to kind of cross when you mess with stuff like that, burning sages and collecting crystals and aligning chakras and all those things. So you have to be very careful when you do stuff like that. That's
How
a
do you
that's
know
a good
all
one.
this stuff? No. I'm not judging you. No, that's true, and I think that the devil can give the false illusion of it's working. It's giving you what you're looking for, and by the time you realize it might be too late or you're so far in. So that's definitely a good one. And then Levi says, hey, Levi, I see you again. Relationship with Christ over religion and rhetoric.
Now I really like that one.
like
Shane, you already know
that.
I've been saying this for a long time. Like it's been keep coming up. I'm like, I don't know that the focus needs to be all about religion.
Right.
Like I stopped really telling people like I won't tell people like, oh, you need to become a Christian or you need to become an Adventist. Like, granted, I would love if you become an Adventist. I think we have a lot of the truth, right? But what I have found, I think is more important is like, I want you to have a relationship with God. Like he's gonna get you wherever he needs you to be, however that happens. But like relationship.
That's the most
That's what's
important
actually
thing,
gonna
right?
like help you. You know,
Right.
like when you have a relationship, like when you're in a relationship, there's certain things you don't do because you're in a relationship, right? there's certain rules I break all the time just because there's rules. Like a lot of these, there's just rules. They mean nothing to me. But in a relationship, like the rules of a relationship mean something different because I'm in a relationship with that person.
Right.
I care about that person, so I actually will follow these rules. You know, it's different.
No, that's definitely a word. Definitely a word. That's definitely coming as a topic.
For
so
sure.
stay tuned to that. Pastor Smith gave a comment, accepting forgiveness from God when we fall multiple times. And so one, we just want to say we appreciate when our like pastors support programs like that. So we appreciate your support, Pastor. Accepting forgiveness from God when we fall multiple times.
It's tough because I think we think.
There has to be a maximum.
No. I think we think like, what if we were God, right? So it's like,
that's true,
I've asked for forgiveness so many times. If I was God, I would have stopped forgiving by now. I'd be like, all right. Come on, man. Like, it's the same thing.
Right, exactly.
How many times am I gonna forgive you for this?
Exactly.
Like, it's tough. And that's what the devil's gonna whisper in your ear, like, you gonna ask him again? You really gonna ask him to forgive you again? But it's like, no, do it, please. Like,
Right.
dude, like, don't stop asking. Like, that's what the devil wants. He wants you to feel that shame and that guilt.
Yeah,
But it's hard.
There's like the song that's like, how many times do I go against your will? Then you forgive me, but I still turn around and do the things I shouldn't do because I belong to you. And it's like, that song's one of my favorite songs just because it's like a story. But then like the chorus is like, you're calling my name.
Yep,
And it's just like, it's still crazy. I think like you said, it's just hard to imagine that because we wouldn't do that for anybody.
Right, and you don't really see that in your day-to-day life. Like,
Yeah.
no one's out here just forgiving everybody for, like, it just doesn't, you don't see it.
But doesn't that go along with the Bible plan we just read?
It's true.
So
You gotta be in a community where you can do that.
that's going to be a topic. We're going to come to that. So that's a
that.
really good one. Vera said people struggle with what's biblical versus tradition. Yeah. That,
Tradition. We gotta
Tradition.
have that as a topic, man.
Tradition. Believe it or not, tradition will take some people to hell.
That's deep.
We keep it real on this show, right?
That's deep.
Okay, so
That's
we got to make a turning point where we ask if this is Bible, is this what God
Right.
is expecting? I have to pause because we got to 30 and we're at 31.
Hey,
Thank you guys.
there you
All
go.
right, let's keep on going. Appreciate it.
Thank you,
But
guys.
there definitely becomes a time where you have to like really wake up and see like, what is it that God wants from me? Like what is, and we know that through prayer, Bible study, stuff like that. But tradition is not going to get you, through the gates.
It's true. It's the truth.
It's definitely the truth. So Naomi said discipline. Yeah, that's definitely, a lot of us can resonate with that. Brian says mental health when being a Christian. So CJ's gonna hit this one. Actually, you can talk about this one.
Yeah,
Mental
sure.
health.
Yeah, man. Definitely mental health. Definitely a taboo subject, I would say, in church. For one, for being, Black, African American, and also being Caribbean as well. I couldn't tell you when I've ever heard of anyone in my family getting therapy or seeking therapy, or even when being in the military, it was always kind of frowned upon. If you go to mental health, like, you won't be able to deploy, you won't be able to do certain things or get certain jobs or tasks. So I would say in the upcoming age, mental health has been becoming more accepted, right? But however, I still feel like people battle with this demon internally, like, a lot. Just today, like, I even had a friend post another friend that he passed away. He struggled with PTSD and lost that fight, right? And even like the celebrity that died the other day, Twitch, like no one knew he was going through mental health issues, right? He lost his battle with mental health as well. And so even my time in the military, I've lost some people I've deployed with, friends that has lost that battle with mental health, right? So I feel like as Christians, we do struggle with that a lot, and it's a very silent killer, So it has no qualms for your age, your ethnicity, your background. It has no favors, right? So if it's on you, it's on you, and I feel like we kind of need to speak up more about it and kind of find ways of discussing this topic, right? Checking up on people, seeing if they're okay. Just because the person that's always happy, always giddy, always friendly, always lending a hand, right? Just because they're always doing those great tasks and great deeds and they seem like they're okay, it doesn't mean that they are okay. So I would say, just to check on your friends, more, ask them what's really going on like in your life, right? And to promote therapy more, right, in our community.
Normalize it.
So for me personally, I'm starting therapy next week on the 27th. So consistent therapy
different,
sessions.
yeah.
So just to take care of my
yeah.
mental health, you know.
Yeah.
Black man, it's okay to not be okay.
We
so.
like the transparency.
Yeah, the transparency, right? Just going
Yeah.
into what Andre was saying. So I started therapy on the 27th. So really trying to take care of some of those stuff that, you know, I dealt with in the military and past life and things like that. So I can go on to be, you know, a better CJ, you know, overall. You know?
And you're a pretty good CJ.
Yeah,
You're a pretty good CJ. so it's definitely, I would say one thing my job did was a really good campaign called Fine is Not Fine. And I was like, wow, that's really, you know, good. And like they were promoting mental health of really, you don't even have to be going through the worst of things to be able to seek help or to like talk something through with professionals. And so there's certain giftings that I believe God gives everyone. And so for some reason, for a while, mental health and therapy was just one of those giftings I would say that maybe Christians didn't really believe in outside of marriage counseling or something like that, you know? Because it was always like, okay, pray about it.
Right.
And that's not to downplay prayer, but like there's a lot of things that you couple with prayer.
Exactly.
And so like I believe that there are people with the gifting of being able to talk to people, making them feel secure, comfortable. And then sometimes you just need to have somebody that, you know, if you're not all the way to the place where you don't care what people think about you and, you know, have to say about you, finding someone that don't even know you is a good start, right? And so, you know, having a professional that can know how to talk to you is something that's super important. So I really like that was brought up. Rashani, we have to find ways to educate others about mental health, especially in the church, so they may have a better understanding. No, I definitely agree. And Yasmin says she's happy for you. So that's really, really cool. All right, so we talk about transparency, practicality. So I came up with one. So remember, we're talking about the question, when it comes to this Christian walk, what is something you'd say that people struggle with the most? And so I'm choosing people pleasing. So that's one that would be more personal to me, just because I feel like there's constant expectations, right? Yeah. And so, you know, just in life in general, you have the expectations, but the expectations in a sense becomes even more when you're a Christian and you're in church. You have a lot of eyes looking on you, right? And so ultimately you would hope that in the church community, it's like, you know what, we're all on the same journey together. We're trying to, you know, get to heaven and like, you know, have our best relationship with God. But oftentimes, let's go with some of the most often stated things of like, what is that you're wearing? Right? So like it's a place of, you can instantly like, I haven't seen you in forever. And it's not from the place of I missed you because you would have called me if you missed me, right?
Exactly.
But
it's like where you been besides church?
Right? Yeah. And so oftentimes, you know, people pleasing can look at like things like, okay, you know what? I know that because of what people are going to say, I'm going to act this way. I'm going to dress this way. Right. I'm going to look this way. And what people don't often remember while people pleasing, you can kind of like get so enveloped and wrapped in that where does God fit in that equation? Right. Like, because at the end of the day, what he sees of me and thinks of me is what matters the most. Right. So for me, it is definitely that people pleasing aspect of, you know, what's gonna make people the happiest, you know, whether it's, you know, stretching yourself, whatever it is. That's definitely just something that would be my personal thing.
So Melinda says, people think once you take a break from ministry, you've left the Lord's side. Like, well, all right, clear. Oh, you let go of that position?
Heathen.
Heathen.
Slipping. Slipping. That reminds me, I guess I know what my place on this show is going to be, is like linking to a lot of songs, right? So when you said that, Ty Tribbett had a song called Sinking.
Sinking.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And he's like, playing the organ, sinking. Preaching, sinking. And it's like the idea is like, just because you're doing all those things
Right.
don't mean that you're on the right path. And so
Right.
like people often look as those things of measures of like, that's just such a good guy.
Right.
Or that's such a good
Right.
woman of God doing this. And then you don't really pay attention to who might be just sitting in the pew or might not even be the pew, and they're like, oh, well, they can't be as good as this.
Right,
And no one
exactly.
really says it like that, but that's what your actions and that's how you think about people often,
Right.
gives off. So,
So
that's definitely
with
a good
that,
one.
Shane, do you think there are different classes in Christianity when it comes to church and having different positions?
What do you mean by
now
that?
you're asking
Different
if it
class-
exists or should it exist?
I'm asking, does it and should it exist, right?
Yeah.
So, like you said, right, you're one of the musicians, you're on the praise team, but the other regular member, they don't really have a position.
Why you gotta put the regular
I
on
don't
there?
know. The regular member that comes faithfully every Sabbath or every Sunday, right? So they don't have a high position, but you do, so you're more favored. Like, Shane is blessed and highly favored, right? So does that other member get overlooked? Does he get put in a separate category of Christianity because he's not doing what Shane is doing?
So, you know what? I had a conversation with this and friends, a couple of friends. And so a pastor brought it up where a pastor, I forgot what they were in Facebook for, but they did something.
Right.
And so the pastor's argument was that, yes, they should be held accountable, but then where's the grace for pastors who are also humans, right? And so should we really be putting anybody on a pedestal where they don't have the ability to fall? So like,
Right.
yes, there might be a calling on your life. You're called
sure.
by God, and I think everybody's called by God for something, right? But there does become this class system
Yeah.
of, Christians. And if to take it further, I think there's almost in some people's minds, some people you expect to mess up because they're like, oh, I'm not surprised. And so are we putting them in a class? So this is the typical mess up Christians, and then these are the people that are just general Christians, and then these are the people that we expect the most from. And so if there is to be a class of Christians, I don't think we're classing it the right way. Like the way that we're using to class people is definitely not something I would say that God uses. But that's a very tough question. Like, what do you think?
I think it unfortunately does exist.
It does exist,
Like
yes.
you see it, the plain as day. Like there's just like preferences. There's like a laddering, and you see like where certain people will get more grace, certain people will not
Don't
get
get
any grace.
exactly, right.
There's certain people that they just have like a bigger voice. Like anything they said is like taken further, whereas someone can make a really good point and it's not taken seriously at all,
Right.
So you see these things, and like Shane said, with the like expectancy of like, oh yeah, we knew that person was gonna mess up. Whereas like, oh my gosh, that elder did what? It's like,
Right.
and then like have the audacity to act like it's something that you've never done in your entire life,
Exactly,
stuff like that you definitely see, and it's unfortunate. I don't think it should exist. I think. I don't know if this is in the study that we just did, but it's definitely somewhere in Romans, where like Paul talks about like giving allowances for people to make mistakes. I
Right.
feel like that's how it should be across the board, whether you're a pastor, elder, deacon, regular member, like
Right.
all the way down, we're all humans and like everyone should have these allowances or this space to make mistakes,
Definitely.
I think that would foster more of an environment where people can, again, go back to being transparent because you
Right.
feel like I made a mistake, it's okay, The point is that like I acknowledged it, we're gonna move forward, But as things are right now, I don't think we've quite gotten there.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's
Definitely.
true. Someone texted me, I think Lamar texted me, he's like, we need a call-in line. Lamar, we actually have that.
We do.
I just
yeah.
don't know that we know like how to do it right now. Like we figured it out. It's possible and it's coming in future shows. So he was
Stay
basically stay tuned. Yeah. We do have the ability. We paid for that equipment. So this is like a shameless plug. If you want to donate, help us out. MT Zion SDA on Cash Apps. Put AY. Help us get some of those funds back
do
so we
it.
can keep on investing into this. But we do have the ability for call-ins, and it's coming soon. So regular degular is the word of the day. All right, so there's one more topic that when it comes to the Christian walk, what is something you'd say that people struggle with the most that CJ came up with? So
I would say swinging the bat on this one. Sex. Let's keep it plain and simple, right?
True.
Sex. We all struggle with it, right? Just because we're Christian doesn't mean that we don't want to have sex or partake in that act or get tempted, right? So if anything, it's worse, right? So
Yeah, for sure.
they'll say, oh, okay, you got baptized. That's cool. I don't mean nothing, right? So you gonna still want to have sex, and you're gonna have this temptation. So I'm gonna throw things in your way, right? So how do we as Christians handle that, right? And if we have had sex before marriage, how do we go along with dealing with that? Like, the feeling that you get, the sensation, it's created by God. So it's something that's made to be positive, right? So how do we overcome that while we're in the stage of life where we're not married, right? So I think sex is something that we all have a difficulty with trying to navigate through in life, and it's not talked about, in church. Oh, just go take a cold shower, or go pray it away, or just block them. But there's such things as soul ties, right? So when you're connected to that person, and it's like, man, you see that late text, and you're like, man.
do you guys believe in soul ties? Put yes or no in the comments because that's a different thing. But go ahead.
Yeah. So, like, you see that text message pop up on the phone, and it's like, man, I don't want to, but the temptation, the urge is there. So, like, what do we do? How do we navigate?
So, and that's a very good topic, and I think that sex would be no respecter of age. So let's get that out there. It's not just young people having sex; it's like older people too. And so, one thing that Myron is just good at. Myron, if you don't know him, he's a Seventh-day Adventist pastor out in Ohio. And he just keeps it 110% real.
Yeah.
And so we have to get comfortable with talking about sex in church, at home, at church, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, I remember growing up, I feel like if someone on stage said the word sex, you would hear a gasp.
Oh my God! What?
The S word.
S word.
S word.
Even though that's how we all got here.
Right. We need to keep that and save that for AY, or we need to keep that. And it's just like, so why does it seem like sex is such a bad thing if it was something that God created, right? And so that's one of the things I think would be the problem, is that by the time you're at the age where you're starting to be tempted about it or thinking about it, whatever it is, your first encounters with the topic of sex is coming outside of the church, and maybe even outside of your home. Your first encounters talking about it might be school, TV, whatever it is. And so what I guess we have to think through as a Christian community is, how has that worked out for us so far?
Right.
Right? So like, do we want to keep on,
Right.
do we want to keep on going down that same path?
Right.
Or do we want to wake up and be like, all right, you know what?
This is
we
a
need to
real
do
issue, right?
something
We need to do
different,
something,
right?
right.
And so I believe that your home, but then also your church is your extended family, should probably be amongst the first to talk about it, to create a firm foundation, because it's harder to create a new foundation on something that's already there.
Exactly.
And so, like, if we're first to it, I think, and starting that foundation that's healthy, I think that's going to be something that already helps us to be able to handle the topics of sex and like just being real. Like, so people that have gone through things, like, and if you're older and you've been through it yourself, like, talk to your children or talk to some young people about, like, hey, you know what, like, I've been through that, and you know what, I wish they would have done this, or I wish I would have done that. Those conversations don't even happen, right?
They really don't.
So, like,
They don't.
everybody's learning on their own and repeating the same cycle. And so I think that's one of the first steps. And then if you've already have been with sex and then you're like, or experienced sex or had sex, it's kind of like one of those things where think of it as anything else in life, anything else that you want discipline in. Just so think of, and sex just happens to be one of the ones that are like in its right context, good, right?
Yeah.
So unlike drugs, for example, where it's 9 times out of 10 just
It's bad,
always
right.
bad, but you can still come back from that. I would say the same thing is true for sex. Like just because you've had it doesn't mean that all things are lost, right? And so I think that anything that you truly want is possible. And so that's probably the first hard part is like, okay, you tasted of something that's good. But maybe not right now for you, but it's good like in the sense that you like it. So how do I deny myself from like, man, this is good, but I know it's better in a certain place. And that's a combination of things. So one, I would say, prayer, right? But that's not the only thing. I'm repeating it, it's not the only thing. But then I think your circle's important.
Yeah.
So like, if you're around friends that are just like, yo, CJ, get out of here. Make sure you get the most sex that you can have, right? That might not be the people
you wanna have
that
around,
you want
right?
around you that's going to
Exactly.
help you to get you to that place, right? So that's important. And then I think in the Bible plan and one of the sermons we heard recently, a lot of things start in your mind.
Yeah.
And you have to like really make a determination of like, starting here in your mind. And like Pastor Patrick, what's his name? From Calvary, Mount Calvary.
You lost me.
Okay. The pastor that came here a couple weeks ago,
Vincent.
Pastor Vincent, yeah, Patrick Vincent. Your mind doesn't really have room for two competing thoughts at the same time.
One of them's gonna win.
One of them's going to win, and it starts there. So like you have to definitely have a determination along with all those things if you want to be able to succeed.
Yeah.
Definitely.
But what do you think?
I think another thing, building off of what you said, that's really important is, for lack of a better word, education. So like understanding kind of like the spiritual side behind sex. Like I don't think I heard about that till like only a couple years ago, and I was like, wow, I've never heard or understood sex in this context. It was I think Michael Polite.
Oh, yeah.
That was talking about I don't have bad sex, and he was talking about like God's original design for sex and like how it's so much deeper than like we realized. Like that really blew me away. Like he was pulling out stuff from like Revelation and tying it to sex, and I was like, what? Like this is what? So I think that's an important part too. Like once you have that education of like what sex actually is, like this deep understanding of it, it kind of helps you have a better motivation for not having sex, other than it's just like, well, God doesn't want me to have sex until I'm married, so I'm gonna try my best not to do that. It should be enough. It should be, but like that's really just having that as a motivation is really hard. But when you understand these intimate details under it, and honestly, I need to rewatch that sermon because there was so much in there. I was like, whoa, holy crap, this is deep. That I'm like, okay, I understand now. Not just that God doesn't want me to do this, but like why He doesn't. Like what I am saying by doing this, like it is really deep. Like he even broke down like even like masturbation, like you having sex just with yourself is saying that like, God, I don't really need you. It's like I can do this myself, you know? And like God designed sex for it to be almost an enactment of His love for us. Like the man and the woman coming together produces this, but you doing this by yourself says like, oh, I don't need the other person. I don't need God. So like it gets really deep. So understanding that education behind things is definitely, I think, a big help when it comes to like that motivation. Honestly, you gotta be real. You gotta be practical and intentional. Like when it comes to sex, like you can't wishy-wash your way by it. I think, you know, that's why it's very important to address these things like we talked about. Like this topic doesn't come up as it should in church and stuff like that. So I remember when I was growing up, and I think for most young people, we first come across this, if it's not addressed in the home or at church, it's at school, on the school bus,
definitely.
at lunch. And I was just there like, oh, I'm not gonna really say anything in this conversation, but okay. Or like when you get questioned about it, you don't have anything to say because there's no basis. You haven't been given anything like that foundation, like you said. There's nothing there. So like, even if someone questions you on it, you're just like, oh no, I don't have sex until I'm married. Why? I don't. Like you just,
there's no like real answer. Like,
nothing
why?
there.
Like,
Yeah,
And then you're not even proud of it at that moment.
Yeah, you're really
It's just
ashamed.
You feel like an outcast.
Right,
You're trying to talk to
right.
just the one person. You don't help the whole group down
Right.
here. Yeah, so I think that's really important. Like, it has to be talked about and addressed. So like, you have some substance when they ask you these things. You actually have an answer that you can like, put your chest out and say, not just like, oh, I don't.
Right.
Definitely. So I think that's like big and key. And I've seen like the kids that do have that and the difference. Like, so I'm the person in the group that I'm just like, oh God, I hope they don't ask me this question. Like, I'm just trying to be a bystander here. But then I see the person in the group that like we were probably raised similar, but they did have this foundation, it was probably talked about in their home or something like that. And when the conversation gets to them, like, nah, they're ready. They're like, and they're out here telling the other kids like, nah, like, you can have sex, but like this and that, and that. Like, oh, this is how it's not good for you. And I'm like, dang, I wish I had that. Like,
Right, exactly.
So that's the benefit of like actually discussing these things, actually talk about these things. So kids have that. Like, it's not that they're empty when the topic comes about. They're like, oh, we done talked about this. Let me let you know. So yeah, I think those are two things there.
Definitely.
And you can see how long this topic could easily last of itself, right? And so this is just like a sampling of like some of the topics that you can expect here on The Walk Live. And so this today, just that little teaser as a reminder, there's more to come on Select Fridays coming up. So we just have a couple more things that we want to tell you about as part of The Walk Live. And so the first thing is this. How can viewers listen and support? So the biggest thing is definitely those like and subscribe buttons. Right now we're on our home church's page, but we already have new pages out specifically for The Walk Live. So if you type in The Walk Live on Facebook and YouTube, hopefully you should be able to find it. It's probably gonna take a while to get notice on those sites because we're starting from zero. And so worst case scenario, we did create a page and it's Linktree. So it's linktr.ee/MZYouth. So I'm going to repeat that one more time. I think Andre is writing it, but we do really need you guys' support to start subscribing and liking so that we can continue to have these ministries go. So again, it's linktr.ee/MZYouth. And we've already outlined all the places that you can watch and subscribe and listen to The Walk. So we're doing Facebook, YouTube, we're doing podcasts this time as well. So the more we get likes and subscriptions, the better it is to support our programming here. If you're a person that really likes the direction that we're heading and you want to continue to support us in what we do, of course, there's that Cash App of $MTZionSDA. You put a note of AY in there, and then it'll benefit our youth ministry directly. As you can see, the money's here.
Yeah.
Hopefully we sound crystal clear. So we have invested a lot of money into just making sure this is as professional as possible. So if you want to help us out that way, no donation is too small. But we want to let you know about a couple things. So our next show is Friday, February 3rd. And we already have our topic picked out, and I guess we can give you a little sneak peek of, we're calling it Keep That Energy.
Keep that energy.
Keep that energy. Keep that energy. So that's going to be Friday, February 8th. As we've told you, after that, it's every third Friday.
February 3rd.
I'm sorry, February 3rd at 8 p.m.
There you go. Yeah.
Friday, February 3rd at 8 p.m. And then every third Friday after that. We just wanted to start off with a bonus show to kick
y'all
off
excited.
The Walk Live. So keeping that energy, that's the date. You might not remember by then, so I suggest going ahead and liking, subscribing from now. And then for those of you that are in the area or near Gainesville, Hawthorne, we have Youth Convocation coming up. So we wanted to invite you out. There's always a good experience with Youth Convocation out at the Southeastern Campground next week. And I believe Kalante
Gavin, yeah.
Galvin
And KCJ.
and KCJ is going to be there in concert. So there's information about that. So we want to see you in person. We'll be out there. So you should definitely join us for Youth Convocation. But lastly, on that same Linktree link, you can start giving us ideas for shows. So if you have ideas, if you have a question that you want to have talked about in either the show or Hot Topics, start going to that Linktree. It says Talk to the Walk, and you can start submitting your items there, and it's completely anonymous. There's no name to put, and I have no idea how to track it down.
Yeah.
So you can definitely do that anonymously because we really do want to make a difference in this particular community. Is there any final thoughts that you guys want to leave with our viewers today?
So we want to thank everyone that did, watch and support, and even if you're not watching live, we want to thank those that went back and saw it.
Yeah.
I think we had a really good discussion here, kind of starting to talk about some of the things already that aren't talked about, like talking about mental health, talking about sex. I think this is a really good start, and hopefully we're going to get more opportunities to dive deeper into these topics to, get more information, get more practical, give some more perspectives and stuff.
Definitely. And just piggyback off Andre, thank you guys so much for tuning in, liking, sharing, and most of all, supporting us, right? So support is very important, and we really and truly appreciate it. And just one last thought, just remember, you matter, God loves you, and so do I.
Oh, man, that's solid, man. I don't even know, man. That's really good. And somebody asked for the information for Youth Convocation. You could go to secsda.org. It's $35 for the concert. Church is always free, so if you want to go for that, you can definitely do that. I want to say my final thoughts is, I know a lot of youth and young adults are going through similar things, right? Yeah. And so what we're trying to do is something small in our community, and I think what I've seen as a leader in the Adventist Church is everybody tries to do their thing and everybody tries to start something, which is cool, which is good. But let's support each other and try to grow something together, right? And so really share this with your friends and your family because we're out here to make an impact. And if you want to be part of what we do here, definitely let any of us on the team know we're here for it. I mean, CJ's coming out from Palm Bay.
Hour. Got over an hour.
Over an hour, and he's one of the ones that's always with us. So if you're a youth or a young adult that really just wants to get involved in a church that's trying to make a difference, we invite you to come and talk to us because you can definitely use your gifts and talents here. But we're gonna go ahead and pray. The sun's definitely set.
Oh yeah.
So let's pray together, and then we'll head out. So dear Jesus, we just want to thank you so much for just being God. Thank you for the opportunity to just talk together. Life is tough a lot of the times, but even in the midst of that, you've shown yourself good and gracious to us. And so we want to just say thank you for that. Thank you for the times that we've triumphed. We've come through educationally. We've come through health-wise. There's things that you've blessed us with money and a place to live at times that we didn't know if we would have one. You've blessed us with mental health so far where we didn't know if we can take another step or another day. We're still here. So in all those things, we just want to say thank you. And so as we start this ministry of the walk, help it to be that vessel that can really help impact people's lives and ultimately the world. We know that we can do things with your help, but together as a community, it's even better. So help us to build a strong community that's going to really, run this race and make it with you. I pray that you give everyone a great week. You know what their needs are. You know what challenges they'll face ahead of time. So give us the strength to endure and to be able to make it through any battle, any difficulty that may come our way. Bless us and bring us back at the appointed time for our next show. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Before you log out, we have one last thing, an outro that Brian created for the show that we want you to watch. Thank you. See you all next time.
Whoa.
Before you go, make sure you like us on all social media platforms at The Walk Live, and find us on any of your favorite podcast platforms. Our journey doesn't have to end here. Join us on the next walk.